set up the game of This Town Ain't Big Enough for the 2 to 4 of Us, first, set up the game area. To do this, first locate the Claim Office tile. This tile can be easily located because the back of it has the game logo printed on it. Place the Claim Office tile face up in the middle of the playing area. This is the start tile in all games. After locating the start tile, shuffle the remaining tiles, and place them face down in a stack where they can be accessed by all players. Next, place the scoreboard somewhere to the side of the playing area. After setting up the game area, each player will set up their player area. First, each player will choose one of the 4 brands to play as, either pink, yellow, green, or blue. It should be noted that in a 2 or 3 player game, there will be brands that will not be chosen. These brands can be thought of as imaginary players. After they choose their brand, they will gain the matching score marker, and each player in the game will place their matching score marker near the scoreboard. There are 2 sides to each score marker, the plain side and the +20 side. The +20 side is used to show that a player has gone over 20 points. So all players should make sure to place their score markers with the plain side face up to begin the game. After setting up the game, players are ready to start playing. This game is a tile placing game where players are trying to complete corrals and score the most points. To start the game, a start player will be established. That player will draw the top tile from the stack. They will look at the tile and place it connected to any of the 4 sides of the claim office. When placing any tile in the game, players must line up sides completely with the other tiles. Therefore, tiles are not allowed to be placed halfway in between other tiles, and they are not allowed to be placed diagonally. While placing tiles, however, you are not required to match colored symbols, so you may place any tile, regardless of the colored brands it has on it. After the start player places the first tile, the next player in clockwise order will draw the top tile of the stack and place the tile face up, using the same rules. This will continue with players taking turns, drawing one tile and placing it into the playing area, connected to other tiles. As players continue placing tiles, they will start to complete corrals. Completed corrals are a series of 2 or more tiles that contain a fully enclosed fence. Whenever a tile is placed that completes 1 or more corrals, all completed corrals will be immediately scored. To score a corral, count the number of brands inside of the corral in each color, even if the brands are not owned by any player. For example, in this completed corral, there are 4 pink brands, 3 blue brands, 2 green brands, and 2 yellow brands. After counting the brands in the corral, each brand present will be ranked based on the number of symbols they have in the completed corral. For example, pink would be in first place, blue would be in second place, and green and yellow would be tied for last place. Always rank all of the brands that are present, even if they are brands that are not owned by any player. If a brand color is not represented in a corral, it is not included in the ranking, and therefore will not score any points for that corral. For example, in this completed corral, green, yellow, and pink are represented, but blue is not. So therefore, green would be ranked in first place with 3 brands, yellow in second place with 2 brands, and pink in last with 1 brand. Blue would not be included in the ranking. After establishing the rank of each player's brand in the corral, players will score points. Scoring can be a bit tricky when first learning how to play, because players do not gain points for the amount of their own brand that they have in the corral. They gain points based on the amount of brands the player ranked directly below them has. So for example, in this corral, pink was ranked first with 4 brands. They would score 3 points for the 3 brands blue the player directly below them has, and blue would score 2 points for the yellow and green players with a tied rank directly below them. The player or players ranked last will not score any points because no player is below them. As mentioned, players not included in the ranking also score no points. After scoring any points in the game, immediately move your score marker up on the scoreboard. If any player scores over 20 points during the game, they will flip their score marker over to the +20 side and move it back to the start of the scoreboard. So currently, yellow has 21 points. It should be noted that it is possible to complete more than 1 corral with a single tile placement. For example, by placing this 1 tile, a player was able to complete 2 corrals. When this occurs, both of the corrals will be scored individually. Some of the tiles in the game contain silver bars, such as this one. When a corral is completed, and it contains a silver bar, The silver bar allows the player that completed the corral to immediately move one tile in play to a new location. There are 2 restrictions while relocating a tile. First, a player is never allowed to relocate a tile that is part of a completed corral. For example, a player could not move this tile because it is part of a complete corral. They are also never allowed to move the claim office. Because of these 2 game rules, it is possible that there would be no tiles to legally relocate. The final thing to note about silver bars is that a player always only gets to relocate one tile, regardless of how many silver bars are actually in the corral. The game ends after the last tile in the stack has been placed in the game area. The last turn will play out completely as any other turn, so if a corral was completed, it will be scored, and if a silver bar was in that corral, the player who placed the tile can relocate one tile. The player who ends the game with the most points is the winner. If the game ends in a tie, players will count the brands in all completed corrals in the playing area. The tied player with the most of their brands in the largest corral is the winner. For example, pink and yellow are tied. Let's say this corral had the most total brands, with 11. Pink has more brands in the largest corral, so pink would be the winner.